Chapter 7 Bonbons and Footballs. The next day, Miss Daisy brought in a box with ribbons on it and told us she had a surprise. "What's in the box?" we pleaded. "It's a secret." "Please." "Well, okay," she said, opening the box. "It's bonbons!" Miss Daisy said she thought we might be able to use them for arithmetic problems so we could learn together. She put the bonbons on the table in front of the room. There must have been 20 or 30 of them. "Can somebody think up arithmetic problems using bonbons?" she asked. "Andrea?" "If you had 3 bonbons in a box," said Andrea as she put 3 bonbons into her pencil box, "and you have 3 boxes just like that, how many bonbons would you have altogether?" Miss Daisy looked at Andrea's pencil box for a long time, counting in her head and on her fingers. Any dummy would know that 3 boxes with 3 bonbons in each box would equal 9 bonbons. 3 times 3 is 9. But Miss Daisy didn't seem to know that. Finally, she opened up Andrea's pencil box and popped the 3 bonbons into her mouth. "Who cares how many bonbons I would have?" she said, "as long as I get to eat some of them." Miss Daisy really needs a lot of help with arithmetic. After she had eaten her bonbons, Miss Daisy passed out bonbons for all of us, and we had a bonbon party. Then she said that was enough arithmetic for the day and asked what we wanted to talk about for the rest of our math time. "Football!" I shouted. Miss Daisy didn't like that I talked without raising my hand first. Personally, I don't see what raising my hand has to do with talking. I don't talk with my hands. But she did let me talk, and I told her that football is just about my favoriteest thing in the world, and I know all about it. My dad takes me to every game of the Chargers, a professional football team. "Maybe you can help me," Miss Daisy said. "I always wondered how long is a football field." 100 yards, I told her. "Anybody knows that." "Wow, that's a big field. With a field that big, how can you and your father see what's going on?" "My dad always tries to get us seats near the 50-yard line," I said. "They're the best tickets." "Why?" Miss Daisy asked. "Because the 50-yard line is right in the middle of the field." "Does that mean that half of 100 yards would be 50 yards?" she asked. "Yup." "I see," Miss Daisy said. "So if you know there are 100 yards on a football field, do you know how many pennies there are in a dollar?" "Andrea?" 100, hollered Andrea Young. "Just like a football field." "Really?" said Miss Daisy. "So if half the football field is 50 yards, how many pennies are in half a dollar?" "50!" Michael Robinson shouted. "Because 50 is half of 100, and 50 plus 50 makes 100. And half of 50 must be 25, because 2 quarters is 50 cents, added Emily, and 4 quarters makes $1, Ryan exclaimed. "And 4 quarters makes a football game, too," Miss Daisy shouted, jumping up and down with excitement. "Wait a minute," I said. "I thought you told us we were finished with arithmetic." "This wasn't arithmetic," she told us. "It was football." "Well, okay," I said, "just as long as we weren't trying to sneak arithmetic into our conversation about football." "Would I do that?" Miss Daisy asked, and then she winked at me. Sometimes it's hard to tell if Miss Daisy is serious or not. Chapter 8 A Lot of Books. On Thursday, Principal Klutz came into our class. He was wearing a hat, which almost made him look like a regular person who had hair on his head. "I have to go to a meeting," Principal Klutz told us, "but I heard that some of you second graders had something important you wanted to discuss with me." Miss Daisy said that I could ask my question. "Can we buy the school?" Principal Klutz said. Is what grown-ups say instead of or when they don't know what to say. "Why do you want to buy the school?" Principal Klutz asked. "Because we want to turn it into a video game arcade," I told him. "I see," the principal said. "Schools cost a lot of money. How much? I asked. If you tell us how much it will cost, we'll raise the money. I'll tell you what, Principal Klutz said. I can't sell you the school, but I can rent it to you for a night. Do you know the difference between buying and renting? Andrea Young got her hand up first, as usual. When you buy a video, you get to keep it forever, she said. If you rent it, you have to return it to the video store in a couple of days. That's right, the principal said. Would you be interested in renting the school for a night? How much would that cost? I asked. 1,000,000 pages, Principal Klutz replied. Huh? If you kids read 1,000,000 pages in books, you can turn the school into a video game arcade for one night. 1,000,000 pages? That sounded like a lot of books. How about 1,000 pages? I suggested. 1,000,000, said Principal Klutz. That's my final offer. Take it or leave it. Would it be okay if some of the other classes helped us out? Miss Daisy asked. Certainly, Principal Klutz said. The more the merrier. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If the kids in this school read 1,000,000 pages, I will come to the big video game night dressed in a gorilla suit. You've got a deal, I said, rushing forward to shake Principal Klutz's hand. In my head, I was already hatching a plan. Chapter 9. Put those books away. As soon as I got home from school, I went up to my big sister Amy's room. Amy is in 5th grade, so she knows a lot of things. You've got to help me, I said. If the school reads 1,000,000 pages in books, Principal Klutz will put on a gorilla suit and let us turn the school into a video arcade game. A video game arcade. I would do anything to see that, Amy said. Amy knows how to work the computer really well. She helped me make posters that said, let's turn our school into a video game arcade, and let's turn Principal Klutz into a gorilla. We tacked the posters up all over Main Street. Amy sent emails and instant messages to all the kids in 5th grade. The next morning, we tacked the posters up all over school. I passed them out to the kids I saw. Mrs. Rupee, the school librarian, said we could put up some posters in the library. Miss Lazar, the custodian, said we could put some up in the lunchroom and the bathrooms. Miss Loring, the music teacher, said we could put some up in the music room. By the middle of the day, everyone in the school was reading like crazy. Kids were reading during lunch. Kids were reading during recess. Kids were plowing their way through books and then running to the school library to ask Miss Rupee if they could check out more. I read a book about frogs, and I don't even care anything about frogs. Some of the teachers were starting to get mad because kids were reading books when they were supposed to be doing other things. Please put those books away, Miss Daisy had to tell us. It's time for reading. Miss Daisy said she was sorry that she wouldn't be able to help us very much because she didn't know how to read. But she was nice enough to draw a big mural in the hallway with a giant thermometer on it. Every time we read a lot of pages, she would make the temperature line on the thermometer go up. At the top of the thermometer were the words 1,000,000. Soon kids were bursting into our classroom and yelling, Mrs. Briggs' class has read another 500 pages, and Miss Hasenfrantz says to add another 600 pages. It was fun watching the temperature go up. At the end of the week, our school had read almost 500,000 pages. Chapter 10. Football players really are dumb. Football players are really dumb. Boys and girls, today we have a very special and famous guest, Miss Daisy said. His name is Boomer Wiggins. Wow, was the first thing everybody said. Who's he? Was the second thing everybody said. But I knew who Boomer Wiggins was. Because Boomer Wiggins was my hero. He was the quarterback of my favorite football team, the Chargers. Wow, a real football player right in our class? Miss Daisy told us that Boomer Wiggins had a daughter in 4th grade, and that's why he was spending the day at our school. When Boomer Wiggins walked into the class, everybody gasped. He was really big and had so many muscles that they poked right against his shirt. We all crowded around him, and Boomer let us feel his arm muscles. I couldn't even get my hands around them. Then Boomer picked up Emily with one hand. He was amazing. Then he gave each of us a little plastic football, and he signed his name on each one. Does anybody have any questions? Boomer asked. Do you like knocking guys on their butts? I asked. Everybody laughed, even though I didn't say anything that was funny. Miss Daisy said that it was butt, not butts, because a person only has one butt. But I said a butt was divided into two halves, so really it could be butts. Miss Daisy said that was enough of that talk. I said she shouldn't be complaining, but because she was the one who started it. I don't like knocking people down, Boomer told us, but sometimes we have to because it's part of the game. Mr. Wiggins, asked Miss Daisy, is it true that football players are really dumb? We all gasped. I was afraid Boomer Wiggins might knock Miss Daisy on her butt. Excuse me? Boomer said, like he wasn't sure if he had heard the question. Well, somebody once told me that if you play football, you don't have to know how to read or write or do arithmetic or go to school. Who told you that? Boomer asked Miss Daisy. Everybody looked at me. I slid down so that my head was almost under my desk, and I hid behind my notebook. Oh, a good friend of mine told me, Miss Daisy said. Is it true? If I didn't go to school, I never could have become a football player, Boomer told us. I have to read and study my playbook very carefully. I have to write letters to my fans. Every week I have to study very hard to get ready for the next game. Did you go to college? Asked Miss Daisy. Yes, Boomer said. And when my football career is over, I plan to go back to school so I can become a doctor. Wow, I said. I want to go to college someday so I can become a doctor and knock guys on their butts. I mean butt. Everybody laughed, even though I didn't say anything funny. Then to prove how smart he was, Boomer Wiggins read us a book and passed out bookmarks that said, Achieve your goal by reading on them. Miss Daisy said that even though Boomer read the books to us, we could still add 52 pages to the total number of pages we've read. The temperature level on the thermometer in the hallway kept getting higher and higher.